Good morning, all. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 4th of March. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take somewhat of a day and learn from it, transfer it to your own charts. I'm not here to issue trading signals. This is a video for paying subscribers at CTM The Bigger Picture.subset.com. It's published on YouTube after a delay of a week. All right. Well, it's been interesting since the weekend with the Iran invasion. Now, we actually we had obviously bullish leaning tape on Monday, which pretty much delivered, and we had bearish leaning tape yesterday, which it pretty much delivered, and we've basically got neutral tape for the rest of the week. I'm a little surprised this has delivered. This hasn't been quite the shock that I was thinking this might have been to the market, apart from for the oil market so far. But I think to a certain extent there's a degree of disbelief in the market about what's happening. Now, my personal feeling is that we're going to find that this conflict turns out not to be short. There's a pretty good chance that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed for months. And if that's the case, this is going to deliver a big impact on oil prices, and it may well deliver a pretty significant impact on stocks as well. But I think we may, if we're in the disbelief phase, then we're still basically forming topping patterns, and I've got more to say about that on the bigger picture charts. In the short term, you got a weak 60-minute buy signal fixed at the lows yesterday, which hasn't made target yet. On ES, we've got the same on NQ. Nothing on RTY. YM was still already on a 60-minute buy signal, which hadn't failed, although it would have got another one yesterday at the low if that wasn't the case. So I'm leaning on these towards seeing a bit more upside. DAX went lower and has so far formed what looks an awful lot like a bear flag from the low, so we'll see how that goes. ESTX the same, but less obviously a bull flag. And Nikkei, we had a sharp move down, no really obvious topping pattern here, and we have formed what could again be a bear flag. We got a weak 6-minute buy signal from the low there. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, right. Looking at SPX, obviously we are well below the daily middle band, and one reason we were making a low yesterday was we'd actually went significantly below the 3SD lower band. We basically closed back above it, above the 2SD lower band, but this is looking pretty weak. But really, you do tend to find support in the early stages of a decline at the 3SD lower band while you're working on the band starting to widen. They are actually fairly narrow at the moment. In terms of the hourly chart, RSI 14 buy signal reached the possible near miss target, and we came back to the 30 level, so I'm writing that off. What's interesting here is that I've been talking about the possibility this was a head and shoulders, and it's not a bad head and shoulders actually, although the shoulder highs are a bit close to the high of the head, but nonetheless, this is a perfectly valid and decent looking head and shoulders, and that broke down yesterday with a target in the 65.40 area. Now, that could fail, in which case it would only fail on a move over the right shoulder high, which I've got at 699.348. And actually, this is a pretty decent looking head and shoulders. It's really not bad. And this is the obvious big support area, which could be larger double top support, or again larger head and shoulders neckline support. So that would be a very obvious target. So watching that with great interest. On the 15-minute, nothing at the moment. On the Qs, we made it down pretty much as far as the 3SD lower band there too. The bands are wider here because this has been bearish for a longer time. Nowhere near the daily middle band, which is where it fell last time. On the hourly chart, am I seeing an obvious setup to go lower here? No, except for the fact that if this isn't a triangle forming here and this is a conventional flag, then the next move would be a lower low, maybe down in about the 578 area, 577 area. So there is an obvious target lower down if this is a larger bull flag forming. We'll see. Still got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed, but pretty much made the possible near miss target here, so I'm writing that off. In terms of the 15-minute, little RSI 5 sell signal fixed at the near the close yesterday. Looking at Dire made it down beyond the 3SD lower band as well. So again, that was a very obvious time to see a rally. We will see how that goes. But I think we're seeing some widening of the middle bands here, and I think that's probably got a bit more to go. What I would say is that we went below the obvious first support here, and we made it down to the second. This is a potential head and shoulders forming, and actually we're already at the ideal right shoulder high. So I'm not saying that's necessarily going to be the case, but this could be a head and shoulders forming. If so, this could break down with a target in the 450 area. So watching that with interest. No divergence on the early charts. Nothing on the 15-minute charts either. We had formed a perfect bull flag channel here, but obviously that broke down. Not treating that as a bull flag anymore, so we will see. Wondering if there might sorry, the trend line wouldn't work. I was wondering if we'd formed a possible alternate wider bull flag channel, but we haven't. But we have reached a possible head and shoulder neckline, and that I'm watching with interest. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart. Okay, IWM. We've got on the daily chart, we again got below the 3SD lower band. Again, this tends to be a pretty good time to see a bounce, and obviously we're seeing a bounce. We're still on an RSI 14 sell signal. On the hourly chart, no current divergence. This could be a bull flag forming. Not thinking that is likely to be the case, but it is possible. But I think my lean is we're leaning into it. We're in a topping process where I think the full implications of this Iran war actually start filtering through, as it might take quite a while and cause a lot of disruption, particularly to energy markets. So we will see. I mean, maybe the Iranians will collapse tomorrow. Who can say? But at the moment, I don't think there's much reason to believe that would be the case, and I think this is likely to be haunting us for months. We shall see. All right, looking at DAX. DAX has seen a big move down. We got wow, that was an impressive move down. So didn't actually recover by an awful lot. So we're down below the 200 DMA here. This has been far more effective than the US markets have been so far. And actually Nikkei, we had a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing. That's actually fixed and made target. And we made it back to a test of the daily middle band, which was actually broken at the close yesterday. So the Japanese market is also being more effective. We're still on an RSI 14 sell signal, but the RSI 5s were the ones I tend to prefer to look at. So these have the DAX and Nikkei have actually been affected more than the US markets. I think the US markets may well get more effective as it becomes obvious that this probably isn't going to end quickly. We shall see. All right, great. Let's have a look at this has been causing interesting moves everywhere. One of those is on US dollar. Now, US dollar, we saw a nice spike up into about 96.6 area. This is raising a possibility that we're actually breaking up beyond breaking up from this rising wedge, and obviously in the opposite direction, the one you would normally expect. Now, if this is breaking up from here, that should be with a target in about the 100.5 to 101 area, I think, then I would expect this resistance trend line to be respected as it was in this back test here. So we're seeing a bit of a pullback here. We've got a 6-minute sell signal fixed. I'm going to be watching that support, which will be in about the 98.2 area. Looking at the other currencies, USD, weak 6-minute buy signal fix, seeing a bit of a rally. GBP USD, seeing a bit of a rally. USD JPY, we've got a 60-minute sell signal fix, so we're seeing a bit of a pullback. USD CAD, this still would make a pretty nice looking bear flag on USD CAD, I would note. So, I mean, this could very much still go either way, but it does appear that the reaction at the moment for this Iran conflict is for the dollar to get stronger. And if that continues to be the case, well, that could go considerably further. Let's have a look at the US dollar. Okay, on the bigger picture, obviously we've still got this bull flag, which I'm not taking particularly seriously, but we had this double bottom that broke up and fell back into the low. But as I pointed out, there could be a larger double bottom here, and we've now got long way closer to a possible test of that double bottom resistance. Now, if we see a sustained break up over 100.395, sorry, I hadn't worked out the targets at the moment, but the minimum target would be at about 104.6, and maximal target would be at about 105.3. This could potentially deliver. Now, I'm not entirely sure why the dollar's going up with the this Iran complex so far, but potentially, obviously, there's a setup for it to go a long way. We shall see. Looking at the euro, we've been forming a rising wedge from the 2025 low, and that has broken down. This obviously, if this is going to retrace significantly, then obviously that could be pretty good for the dollar. Looking at GBP USD, again we've got a rising wedge that hasn't broken down yet, but if it does, this one's from 2022. But if it does, then again this could signal a significant period of weakness coming for GBP, and again that would tend to be good for the dollar. USD JPY, not as clear on USD JPY at all. USD CAD. Bigger picture, we're in this sort of very, very long range trade that's been covering about 10 years. Smaller picture, we've seeing a move down on the on USD CAD and haven't broken up over declining resistance yet, but that could signal a significant move up. And actually, it could signal a very significant move up. This could potentially be a large double bottom to take this back potentially to the 2025 high. We will see. Looking at the Australian dollar, we've got an RSI 14 sell signal, which is now fixed, and not particularly obvious what a topping pattern would be, but we can certainly go a lot lower. And NZUSD, again, we pretty much made the IHS target, and we could be heading back into the lows. So is there, just looking at the charts, is there much room for the dollar to go much higher? Yeah, potentially. Definitely. I'm not quite sure why it would be going higher, but is there potential for it to go higher? Yes. All right, looking at bonds. Now, bonds are looking interesting too. Now, initially, we had the usual flight to safety things and bond went higher, but we've actually seen a move down from there, and that looks potentially significant. We're forming a potential head and shoulders here. Ideal right shoulder high as well, almost been made, but ideally would be up in about the 117.28 area. On ZN, we're seeing a little bit of a pullback here. This could be a head and shoulders that's already broken down, but I'd prefer the right shoulder moving here. But really, what I'm watching here is the bigger picture charts. Let's have a look at those. Right, TYX, we had a possible RSI 5 buy signal brewing, and that has now fixed. So, and these tend to be pretty good signals, actually. So, in fact, we've got how many on this chart? We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on this chart, and all of them made target. I'm watching this with great interest, and I'm thinking we could be looking at the start of a rally in bond yields, which of course would be a move down in bonds. Looking at TMX, we've also got an RSI 5 buy signal fixed on the daily charts. These were both brewing at the weekend, and testing the daily middle band as resistance. If we can get over that, again, we can see a pretty good rally in bond yields, and we've made it to pretty much made it to this possible triangle support here. And this is, on the bigger picture, a possible bullish triangle. In terms of FVX, we've still got a triangle here. We went slightly below the ideal trend line, but we didn't get below this 33.92 here. We've still got a pretty nice looking potential bullish triangle here. Could we be looking at a large increase in bond yields here? There are indications that might be starting. We don't have a daily sell signal on TLT, but we have reached a significant resistance level, and so far that is holding. We will see. But it seems to be suggesting we might see dollar up and bonds down, which is interesting, because that actually really probably guessed the other way. But at the moment, that is the way it's looking. We shall see. All right, let's have a look at oil. Now, oil, obviously, we've seen a big move up. This isn't the main move up. If we're, I'm talking about, I did a post yesterday. Have a read of that. I didn't post. I forgot to post the link on my Twitter, so I'll do that today. But we will see how that goes. But I think I'm really looking at this potentially heading up into the 100, 105 area. And if the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed for several weeks or even months, then I think that is an entirely credible move. And actually, it could go higher. We will see. We're seeing a bit of a pullback at the moment. HO, we're seeing a bit of a pullback. RBOB, we're not really seeing much of a pullback at the moment. This is still holding the highs, although we've got a potential double top forming. NG, which could also be affected, but I don't have a big setup for, is potentially forming an inverted head and shoulders here and forming the right shoulder on that. That would be, hang on, bear with me a moment. Would be here. And as you can see, it's pretty nice. If we were to see that right shoulder form, and so the ideal right shoulder low now, and break up, then that could get us back up into about 3.6 area. About 20% of world liquefied natural gas goes through the Strait of Hormuz. So there is an obvious reason for this to go up if this is going to be an extended conflict. All right, looking at the bigger pictures on those. Hang on. Right, WTIC, we've got we had a double bottom or IHS, could be read either way here, which had a target in the 70 area. We made that in spades. We've got a larger potential double bottom here, which has got resistance in the 78.40 area. That hasn't broken up yet, but I think there's a pretty good chance that it's going to. The target for that would be in the 172 to 101.82 area. Looking at heating oil, we've got a nice move up here. IHS has broken up with a target in the 3.47 area, and we're actually getting pretty close to that target. Do we have any larger patterns there? No. That would be the extent of it. But as I was mentioning on the post I did, this could be. Hang on, wait a second. This could all be a bull flag. Setting up a retest of 126.42. On heating oil, this could all be a bull flag, setting up a retest of 447. On gas oil, this could all be a bull flag, setting up a retest of this high here at 412. So potentially we could go an awful lot higher. So heating oil, we're pretty close to the initial target, but obviously it doesn't need to stop there. Looking at gas oil, we've broken up over this double bottom here, and I haven't marked the targets on here. Sorry. The targets are. Sorry, I wrote them on the post yesterday. But they're whatever I wrote on the post yesterday. I'll transfer them onto here at a later point. Or did I put them on here? Nope, I didn't. So, but I'm looking at the targets basically, up here in about the 3.1, 3.2 area, and potentially we've got a possible IHS neckline here in the 2.85 area, where we could form a right shoulder, and I'm watching out for that too. All right, great. So looking at natural gas, I'm not seeing an obvious big reversal pattern upwards. We don't really have a double bottom here or an IHS, but we do have a potential IHS forming on the alley. This could see a big rally as well, probably not as large as the one on oil. But there would be an obvious time. It is going to restrict gas supply if the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And at the moment, it is closed. All right, let's have a look at GC. GC. Nice looking rising wedge here. That has broken down. We may be looking at more downside soon. We've got a 60-minute buy signal fixed, looking for some more upside short term. There's no obvious topping pattern forming here unless we go back and retest this high. SI, this looks like a bear flag, which is breaking down. Again, no obvious reversal pattern yet. Palladium, this looks an awful lot like a bear flag too. Platinum looks like a bear flag that's broken down. None of these have obvious topping patterns forming. On HG, this looks like an ascending triangle. So we've got a flat top ascending here, and it's very nice. And this would be the E wave, and it would be about to break down and go and retest the low here, which I've got at about 5.62. I'm thinking this may be happening in the next few days. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture on those. Okay, looking at gold. Gold, I'm still wondering about an ABC flag here. We're testing the daily middle band as support here at the moment. If we can break down below that, then potentially we can make a lower low below this low here at 44.04. This could all be part of an overall bull flag forming. On silver, again, I'm wondering about possible ABC. We're testing the daily middle band again. May well go lower from here. We shall see. Looking at palladium. Again, I'm wondering about an ABC. I'd like to see this not go below this right shoulder low at 13.29. We should invalidate this IHS with a target in the 25.50 area. Looking at platinum. We had a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing at the weekend. That has now fixed. Hasn't made target yet. Could we be forming a head and shoulders here potentially? But I'm doubtful. I don't think the precious metals bull market is finished by any means. Looking at copper. Could we be seeing a retest of this low soon? Yes, I think so. That's a nice looking triangle. We could also be making a major high here. We've obviously hit some pretty serious long-term resistance, and at the moment that is holding. We could alternatively see an extended breakup, which, if we see some really crazy building of data centers, could provide the demand for that. Looking at GDX, we've got a lot of negative divergence here, but then we've had a lot of negative divergence here for a while. We've made new highs here, looking for some retracement short term, and we are seeing a bit of retracement short term. So we will see how that goes. But we do have a couple of potential topping patterns forming here on GDX, which I'm wondering whether they might deliver. All right, let's have a look at the other commodities. KC. KC, we've got a potential double bottom here. 6-minute buy signals reached possible near miss target. SB. IHS has broken up with a target at a retest of the December high. Needs to respect, if it's going to hold, needs to respect this IHS right shoulder low here in about the 1377 area. On CC, slight breakup over declining resistance, not much of a rally so far. 60-minute buy signal is fixed, but hasn't made target yet. CT, we had a head and shoulders breakdown here with the target in the 63.65 area. It didn't quite make that, but it got pretty close. Still an open target and still may see lower to get that. On lumber, lumber is the big double bottom from the last contract failed, and we are continuing down at the moment. Bigger picture is likely downtrend. ZW, I was talking at the weekend about the possibility we might actually be seeing an extended breakup on wheat, on corn, on cotton particularly. We'll see how that goes. Could be topping out short term here. 6-minute sell signal has now reaching the target, full target at the moment. Corn still looks like a bear flag. Soy still at the highs. ZL still at the highs. Has broken up from this rising wedge and looks like a little bull flag forming. Live cattle. Wondering about a possible flag here, or maybe a large move down. It's not that clear what the pattern setup is here. HE, I'm wondering potentially about ABC and a lower low here, so we'll see whether we get that. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts on those. And coffee. Coffee, we've broken down from this double top. We pretty much made the initial target, and we're testing the larger possible double top support. I'm not expecting to make that full target if it does break down, but we will see how it goes. Yeah, we will see. We've got a nice move down here, and we're getting down towards the longer term ranges where this has been trading. Sugar is doing the same. Sorry, no, sugar's not doing the same. Sorry, I was thinking of cocoa. Sugar may well be heading down to this head and shoulder target in the 9 area. Obviously, it's been in a continuous downtrend for a couple of years now. Looking at in the short term, no current divergence. On cocoa, we're now down in an area where it's been comfortable trading before. Wondering if we might find some support here. Not a lot of sign of that so far, although we do have a weak RSI 5 buy signal fix and a possible weak RSI 14 buy signal brewing on the daily. On wheat, I was talking about this possible double bottom setup and possible larger double bottom setup as a potential setup to see a big rally here. We will see. No current divergence short term. On corn, again, we've got a large double bottom here, which hasn't been showing any signs of breaking up, but if it does, then again, we could see a big rally. We've been coming back in for a retest this high. We could be topping out here short term. Looking at soybeans. Soybeans, we had a lovely flag, which then broke. Then this was the agreement for China to buy some. This was them not actually buying some, and it's been rising. I'm not quite sure why since then. Could that go further? Yes. but we don't have the obvious big reversal pattern that we've got on the others. I'd be thinking more in terms of maybe get up to 1250 area and then see a right shoulder form and possibly an IHS there, but we don't have a clear pattern. Cotton, we've got a clear pattern. Lovely double bottom here. Again, has shown no signs of breaking up, but that could change. Weak RSI 5 sell signal, sorry, not buy signal, fixed in the short term. Hang on, I'm just going to correct that now. Otherwise, it's easy to forget. Week 60-minute sell signal fixed, hasn't made target yet, but it's getting pretty close to the possible near miss target. All right, and looking at lumber, lumber is going into the greater downtrend, which really takes hold when we break down below this rising support trend line, which is currently in about the 495 area. We've got a double top that's broken down with a target in the 350, 250 area, basically at the retest this low. And once we break down it below this trend line, this is a bear flag, which is breaking down with the same target. But again, this has been slow to the lower. All right, let's have a look at crypto quickly. Crypto, not really seeing much of a change. It's been moving around, but basically what I'm looking at here is a likely bear flag forming, and this still looks like a likely bear flag forming. So we've made a slightly higher high, but not over 72.2. So at the moment, this would still be a triangle. Could go a bit higher. We will see how that goes. But I'm thinking basically these are bearish consolidations, setting up retest the lows here. And if we see a significant move down on equities, that would be the obvious time to see that deliver. In terms of the Solana chart, we're looking at pretty much the same. All over the daily middle bands at the moment. And Ethereum, we're looking at pretty much the same, except both of these are made higher highs, so they're decent looking bear flags already. Haven't retested the highs yet. We are back over the daily middle bands on all of them and can go higher. But not expecting to see too much higher because the Bollinger Bands are very compressed here. We will see, but I'm still expecting to see a retest this low and then possibly a double bottom when we get there. All right, great. In that case, I think that's a wrap. Everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys again on Sunday. Cheers.